My name is Daniel Lippick, and this is my submission video for the final project for Game Engine Design. This project stems from my senior design project, which was to work on the GNSSperformancemonitor.com website, which collects data from 4 GNSS receivers, collects data from GPS, Galileo, GLONASS, and Beidou, and plots their errors in respect to the actual location of the fixed receiver. So that was my senior design project, and this project builds onto that by adding a 3D visualization not currently seen on the website. So here what we're looking at is now live data. This was the most recent feature added. So the module will connect to the database of all the data, and it will show live data. There's a delay of 2 to 5 seconds from what I can tell, but it's pretty much real time, and you can see this is currently where they are all at in respect to the origin is the correct surveyed position of the receiver. So you can see, let's see if we can go over and see GPS. It's pretty close on right now, but we can also see in the GUI we're showing their current errors, that's total error distance from the origin, and their GDOP, their geometric dilution of precision, which is an estimate by the constellation of how accurate the current locations that it is sending is based on a number of factors, including the geometric position of the satellites, as well as how many satellites there are visible to the receiver. So sometimes devices that use multiple constellations will say, okay, well, the dilution of precision is high for this constellation, we're not going to use the data for that, and that's how it kind of switches between different constellations to use there. But so that is shown also in the size of the spheres. A lower dilution of precision will be a smaller ball, kind of indicating a more precise position, and a larger sphere will denote a less accurate position. Something you might notice is the labels always face the camera whenever we move around here, and so you can always see that. Right now they're kind of grouped up a little bit more than usual. These three are being a little more accurate than usual, so usually you can kind of see them a little more. They're a little more spaced out. So the data is received once per second for each constellation. It's why you can kind of see on the timestamp, it's every second, and then that corresponds to the spheres moving a little bit. And one thing that is noticeable currently is there is a little snag. It causes the frame rate to hang on one frame. Every time the database is queried, it takes a little bit of time, so I'd like to work on that and mitigate that. But some other features is we can pause the playback wherever we are, and you can see the frame rate speeds back up, the average frame rate, since you're not querying anymore. And then we can pick back up. We can also hide certain constellations. Maybe we just want to compare GPS and Galileo. We can hide the other constellations, bring them back however we want to. And also, so this is the live data, this is the default view, but we can also go into some recorded data. So if we click here, we can see some recorded data. In this one, I believe Beidou is way off somewhere. Let's go to this set. And then when you're in recorded data, you can change the playback speed up to 60 times, so it'll be a minute every second, and that is a little bit of a more compelling visualization, actually seeing them move around a little bit more. You see these smaller spheres are going to be the maxes for that data set, so that's the worst position for each constellation is shown there. And you can still pause and hide certain constellations there. And if we went back to live data, you lose the speed controls there, and you also lose the maxes because I'm plan on implementing like a 24-hour max on that, or an hour long max, but I haven't that hasn't been done yet. Something else I wanted to do is show some data from known atmospheric events. Here's one from a solar flare on July 3rd of 2021. So if we look at that, we can kind of see how different constellations handle these events compared to each other, kind of see who's doing worse. As you can see, kind of GLONASS has the most trouble with it. It's kind of has a lot of trouble sometimes anyway. Beidou is also not fully deployed in our area, so certain times it'll be fairly accurate. Certain times their orbits don't hit right, and it kind of just goes off crazy, and his way is a few hundred meters off. Um, but yeah, so that's one thing. I wanted to implement more recorded data from atmospheric events, but as we go back to live data here, but one issue I found was sometimes we weren't really seeing anything from these atmospheric events that I found records of. Sometimes we weren't in the correct position. It was like nighttime here, and it wasn't really, the solar flares weren't really having much effect, and you couldn't really see much. And then other times that was one of the things that we worked on the senior project. There was a daily data dropout at the start of the new GPS day, and so sometimes things occurred in that window where we weren't getting any data from any of them. That's since been fixed, but it didn't help for looking at historic data. And sometimes there was just other factors that it really didn't show anything, looking at some of the other atmospheric events. So hopefully in the future, as we have as there's new ones recorded, we can see those a little better. But overall, that's the project. The database integration was done with a third-party library. It's from Oracle MySQL connector for C++. It wasn't too bad to work with. But that should be all integrated into the module, so this should be playable if you get the code for this, and you can still log in and see the real-time data. Some things in the future I would like to do in kind of on building what's already here. With the database integration, now I'd like to be able to show like a user selectable time range, so you can just pick whatever day you want and show from that time period, and can just query the database accordingly to get that data. It's something I'd like to do. I'll have to play with the timing of it to see how long it takes to get that data, and maybe see how, like, if we can only do a couple hours at a time or something like that, so there's not a huge delay when you're waiting for the data to load. And also, I'd like to fix this little snag when the database is queried. It didn't seem like it shouldn't be that noticeable from the times I was seeing things taking, but it's still kind of showing up. So I'd like to fix that. And overall, that's about it. Thanks for watching. Bye.